Welcome back for the Bourbon Junkies. He's Dan, I'm Sean, and tonight we're gonna do a little podcast-esque type video.
Yeah.
We'll be talking some whiskey news, specifically about the barrel shortage that people are saying is about to hit the market.
Yeah, whiskey is no longer because barrels are no longer, and therefore there will be no more whiskey.
All right, I'm gonna open this. This is from Gary Franchi. It's a little Old Forester single barrel. It's a 100 proofer.
Franchise.
That is so dark.
You're going deep on that sample, huh?
Well, I figure the way you're operating right now, I got about 4 hours till you rein it on in.
Okay, so I'm drinking 48 Kelvin Collab 4, batch 19, coming out soon. Sean's drinking an Old Forester 100 proofer that we don't ever see. Never, no matter what, we can see 100
We only
proofers.
got 2 samples. Anyways, the topic of today's video, Dan, barrel
whiskey's
shortage.
gone.
Yeah, kind of.
We're done.
A little bit. I look back 2 years ago, and I found an interview from the president of ISC, and
who's ISC?
Independent Stave Company. So it's a big barrel company, if you don't know.
Make barrels for whiskey.
He said it's not going to happen. There's going to be American oak. There's no shortage that we can see at the cooperage.
This is 2 years ago.
It's 2 years ago.
That's actually really recent. So that's
Now,
right before COVID, basically.
That was during COVID, 2020.
Oh, whoa, okay.
So that was during COVID. He said, we're good. We're fine.
Whoa.
Nothing's going away.
Okay.
And now it's done a hot 180.
Yeah.
The take now is there's not enough sustainability in American white oak to continue forward.
With American white oak.
Yeah.
And it has to be American oak legally.
Yes.
To be bourbon, it has to be American.
But there's a bunch of
French
different
oak and there's other
There's a bunch
oak
of different other types of American oak.
that nobody currently uses, probably for
For a
good
reason.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say within the last 100 years, they'd probably figured out if there was another option other than American white oak.
Yeah. Well, because I would imagine due to the demand, could be wrong, I'd imagine due to the demand of American white oak, it's more expensive than non-American white oak.
Yeah.
So in theory, if it were cheaper to use American red oak or whatever the other oak is, in theory, I'm assuming everybody started using it because it costs nothing. Barrels aren't that cheap to begin with. This is the thing. You can pay $1,000 for a barrel, an empty one.
So
you can pay
that's part of
$500
it.
for an empty barrel.
Out of all the American white oak, it's a few select ones, basically, of the percentage that gets harvested that actually go towards barrels because they need good wood. Whoa. So not everything goes for it because, like, okay, so trees don't always grow straight. You know that,
Sure,
right? But to get a stave, you need a pretty good straight growing barrel. It needs to have good grain to be able to actually form it into a stave.
I never thought about the fact that we might have a barrel shortage because they're just using it for other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just barrels that American white oak.
Well, and
gets
oak
used
is
for.
like, you're like strong as an oak.
Yeah.
That's the saying.
That is a saying.
Which means oak's
Watsky made a whole song about
a
it.
very strong wood.
Yeah.
I had never thought about using it for building things,
Yeah.
except barrels.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah, buddy. I mean, it's used for a lot of
it's
things,
just
but
one of those
unfortunately,
things.
like I said, not everything can go into staves.
So the problem becomes, so there's a lot of different cooperages. Come to find out, weirdly,
There are, yeah.
There's Kelvin and Space and ISC and who they're like when we were to Starlight, they're like we source 7.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ones.
So there's a lot of cooperages now. Some aren't all in America, some are in America, but the interesting thing to me is with the barrel shortage thing. So there's some people who have their own cooperages.
Yep.
Brown Foreman has their own cooperage situation.
In-house. Beautiful.
Doesn't Jack have their own?
Probably.
I think Jack has their own.
I'm pretty sure that's real.
I wonder if Dickel has their own. I don't know. But anyways, some of these really big brands have their own cooperages. Now, not to say that getting oak or wood isn't difficult, because it sounds like that might be the actual culprit of the issue.
Oh, well, there's a couple different issues we're going to talk about today, Daniel.
But at least they don't have they're not getting turned down.
Yeah, because they're making in-house.
Right.
Yeah.
So like if you and I go, hey Kelvin, cooperage, may we buy 1,000 barrels? They're like, hey dummies, no.
Unfortunately, you only bought 50 last year.
Right.
You can only buy 50 this year.
Right.
This is happening to smaller craft distilleries. They're being capped at whatever they bought last year from some places. So they're having to move around and like pad their inventory
so
because
shitty.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the shitty part, about that is like
we'll talk about that later.
if they can't grow,
Yeah.
like if they can't barrel whiskey, which what a craft distillery needs in my head off the rip, what you need immediately is you need your whiskey to start aging.
Yeah.
Right.
And you need something to put it into age.
Right. So
Said barrels.
you immediately need your whiskey to start aging. So you distill it and it immediately has to go into something that legally is going to allow you to sell it in 4 to 5 years.
Yep.
Because they have to be able to cover their overhead to get to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Okay.
whatever.
So problem number 1, infrastructure. So COVID kind of hurt the lumber industry. Obviously, that's why 2x4s are $11 a piece or whatever.
Yeah, OSB's $80 a sheet.
Yeah, so it obviously hurt the lumber industry. So with that, obviously they're not cutting down the American oak or American white oak that they can get to. So there's going to be some shortages there.
Let's say for 6 to 8 months, which is when nobody worked, right?
Yeah.
For 6 to 8 months, most people's jobs, there were a lot of layoffs. There's a lot of work from homes, which means you're not going cutting down trees.
Yeah.
There's a lot of whatever, businesses shutting down permanently, whatever. So for 6 to 8, there's a lot of non-working people comparatively.
So what was banked is obviously going lower and lower for the cooperages.
What blows my mind is after that, let's say after a year, most people are back to some form of work if they want to be.
Yeah.
Right? And somehow, this is so chalked right now that it's like, hey, it might be botched for like the next 6 to 8 years.
Well, that's where the next problem comes into. So obviously, demand for bourbon went up during the pandemic. Everyone got drunk, you know, because sadness. Yeah, sadness.
Yeah. Welcome to the Midwest.
So you need the people were like, all right, cool. So bourbon's tracking up. We're obviously going to start doing more barrels. We're going to lay down more inventory.
Yes.
So that supply was low, but demand went high.
Yeah.
So we need to make more barrels. Well, no one's giving us lumber to make more barrels. Okay, well, then we'll just buy more barrels. So we're going to pad up next year. And that's why some places are being held to what they're buying last year, because these big places, or MGP, laying down thousands of barrels a day.
Oh, yeah.
So they went out. Did you try to buy toilet paper during the pandemic?
Yeah.
What happened? It's gone.
And that's made of trees, too.
Everyone was like, I need toilet paper. I don't know why.
Is toilet paper oak?
No.
We should switch that.
I think we don't. You know what? I'll get you an oak tree. You try to wipe your ass with it.
Well, dude, paper's made out of trees. You ever wiped your ass with bark?
Okay. Before we move on too far, let's talk about the sponsor of today's video. You guys probably guessed it's Into the AM, as Dan's supporting them with a hat and a shirt. I've got the basic tee on. He's got the graphic tee.
Going? Little hat going?
You right there?
You ever do that?
No.
Man,
I have hair.
All right. So Into the AM, obviously, we've worked with the channel they've worked with the channel. We've worked with them on the channel for a very long time. However you want to phrase that, really.
They allow us to work with them, which is
true.
very nice of them.
And they make shirts, hoodies, boxers, shorts, sweatpants, everything.
Joggers.
Literally freaking everything. At this point, guys, okay.
It's half my wardrobe and I don't hate it.
We should start bothering them to make a romper.
No, that's just not going to happen.
We need a romper.
No, we're good. But if you do need them for, your t-shirts, basic tees, I love them. I wear them almost every day.
Incredible value.
They're a nice pre-shrunk blend going on. They're comfy. They fit well.
They last
I don't know what to tell you about them.
They last forever.
I don't know anyone that's bought them and been upset with the quality of item that they've received. Go out, check them out. There's a link in the description below. Get yourself 10% off site-wide.
Yeah. Also, we have a shirt launching with them this month.
That's true.
So watch out for that. As you see more Into the AM stuff this month, you're going to see more of our shirt that's launching. Yeah. And we're going to have a link for you with a discount. It's going to be a whole thing. So thank you, as always, Into the AM for working with the channel. We appreciate the hell out of you guys. They literally make the best products for the best prices in the whole clothing game that I've ever used in my life.
Fair.
So, cheers, everybody. The shitty part about this is realistically the biggest impact from a not a consumer standpoint. The biggest impact from the industry standpoint is going to be craft distilleries. Yeah, which is such a bummer.
Yes,
because there's so many craft distilleries that started up in the past 8 years, I'd say. Yeah, 8-ish.
Oh, big time.
Tons, hundreds, literally hundreds.
Easy.
And so with hundreds of craft distilleries starting up in the past 8 years, handfuls of them are doing incredibly well right now and growing wildfire. It's crazy.
But unfortunately, you can't get barrels to grow that inventory.
And so what's going to happen is now these craft distilleries who are sourcing, in my mind, they're going to be more okay.
Okay, yeah.
Because they weren't worrying about the barrels initially anyways, right?
No.
They're worrying about sourcing whiskey. Now, sourcing whiskey may be more difficult. It might be a whole nother
That's a whole
ballpark,
different
right?
rabbit hole. Yep.
But-
So I know what you're thinking. All right, well, everything's kind of getting back to normal. We're going to, of what can be logged, we'll get logged and we'll get trees and all that's going to be hunky dory.
We'll
But
log
the
them.
real kick in the nuts on this one is
kick to the log, as they say.
would be the fact that of the American white oak, they say 75% of it is mature right now. So you can go out, cut
Which
down.
is great news. in
Sounds
theory.
great, yeah. But unfortunately, we're now harvesting faster than the regeneration of American oak.
Because now we were behind. We're trying to catch up.
Yep.
It's like doing our homework the night before.
Because we already had this issue of a lumber shortage in 2012. So with the housing collapse in 2007, it affected the lumber industry very similarly, where they
I
couldn't
didn't know that. That's wild.
get stuff going
That's so
for
wild.
barrels. Yeah.
That's so damn interesting.
So you think, all right, cool, we've seen this before, we'll work our way out of it, we'll be fine. But because of all the trees being mature, they don't support new growth. Because like big trees, you can't obviously get seeds down in there to get anything growing because there's no sunlight down
Also,
there.
it
It's
takes,
it's a whole lesson.
Seemingly a whole long time to grow a tree.
Yes.
So it's not like, that's like the shitty part. It's just like whiskey.
Yeah.
It's literally like, hey man, you made some whiskey, that's cool. So the problem is it needs to go in there for 4 to 8 years, right?
Give or take.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
So that needs to go in there for 4 to 8, and then we can do some stuff with it, or maybe whatever. We can sell it, put it in a bottle, and it'll drink great.
Someone will
whatever.
buy it.
The problem is like the tree thing is there's no like this hyper aging thing, which we've talked about several times, is a really rough subject, right?
Oh.
Very
Highs and lows.
very experimented on, very
Yep.
not done correctly several times over, so on and so forth.
Good.
This tree thing is identical, but the problem is it's the beginning of the whiskey process now. So now
Yeah.
you have the whiskey in a barrel aging. Now you have the trees growing and aging or whatever, becoming mature,
And they
in
don't
an accessible spot.
Yeah,
It's
I
just a
told
disaster.
you. They don't plant oak trees. Oak trees are in that realm that they just figured they'll come back eventually.
Yeah, which that's wild. I never heard. That's insane to me.
Yeah, they plant like pines and stuff like that.
Ferns,
Yeah, stuff that grows quick and will help a forest out. So
African. What's that African wood? It looks so cool, dude. It's like a zebra. Our ashtrays are made out of it.
I don't know.
Our wooden ashtrays. They look really cool.
no idea.
They're striped woods. Anyways.
Cool. So you think it's an issue we're going to come out of like here shortly because, like I said, we'll get more people in there, but there's just so much whiskey being laid down in new barrels that we're going to be screwed here in like really 5 years. They're like, good luck. We're going to have to figure something out or really get ahead of it now.
This is a problem.
It is a problem.
So here's
whiskey right now, they say, is an $8.6 billion industry.
a year.
Yeah. Billion with
Are
a
we
B.
part of that?
Yeah, I guess.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Like-
cool.
Real small.
Didn't ask percentages. Just said where we.
Would you-
Was more of a yes or no.
Like-
Okay, so anyways,
8.6 billion? Us. Like,
if you could
us.
just pinhole it, it's
Yeah.
less than that.
Yeah.
So anyways, man.
Huge business.
Here's the problem.
We're out of oak. That's the problem, Dan.
I know, but here's the so
And what we can get, it will not patch us ahead of time. We're screwed.
I have a great business idea
Go ahead.
right now. Just came
All
up
right.
with it.
Go ahead.
You and I, we lead the forefront of figuring out which wood will replace it. You and I start a cooperage.
I'm gonna call it right now. They're gonna start like doing like a half reused barrel. It'll be
Not
like
legal.
every other
Not
stave.
So here's the thing: it can be American whiskey at that point.
It's a new oak barrel.
No, it can
Partially.
that can be that definitely could be categorized as new American. It could be
Yeah.
American whiskey. So
It'll be recategorized. Is what you're
light
saying.
whiskey, American whiskey. These things don't have the same standardizations and
As bourbon,
legalities and whatever. So maybe that's what happens. Maybe in like 4 to 6 years,
People
we
be
see
gonna be
way
getting
more
creative.
American whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, get them thinking caps on. And if you ain't creative, fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's unfortunate because I really genuinely feel awful and miserably bad for the people who work their asses off, have done a really good job, have built an incredible brand, have done great with their consumers, have done great whiskey.
And then it comes down to not being able to
And then
source
they're
barrels.
like, what?
Yeah.
So you said we could buy 50 last year, which is awesome. But then this year we needed 300 because we actually like exponentially grew.
This also like might be being exacerbated by companies panic buying so many barrels.
For sure.
So we don't know where the actual tipping point is because of how much panic buying is going on. So
that's not even a debate. That's happening. Because if you and I know this,
it could be 5 years at the current pace,
right?
Or it could be 2
years.
Yeah. See, this isn't like Kentucky's single barrel program where it was like, all right, make new laws. There's a workaround to make this work. This is a time.
That's what I was saying earlier. That's
problem.
What I'm saying. Yeah. The problem with whiskey is it was already a time thing. Yeah. This is why this wasn't a problem in the beer industry. When the craft beer industry was huge, gigantic, mungus, everybody wanted Hop Slam and KBS, and everybody wanted what's the California one?
Pliny.
Pliny.
Yeah.
Everyone wants all this stuff. The problem is make more of it. Hey, next time brew more of it, right? The problem with the whiskey is like, hey man, make more Eagle Rare 10 year.
I got nothing to put in.
Well, we got 10 years before that happens. Yeah. And when you have to add, I don't realistically know how long it is. When you have to add 6 years for a tree to mature. Yeah. That's now a 16-year-old product, even though you're only needing it to age in a barrel for 10. It's just, that's a humongous issue. That's crazy. I don't know.
What do you guys think in the comments? Let us know. Is this going to be an issue, or is this going to be like a thing that people are playing up?
I'd be willing to bet real money that some craft distilleries, and I'm not saying that they're succeeding right now, but maybe they're making it right now.
Oh yeah.
I'd be willing to say that some craft distilleries go under because of something like this.
Yeah.
Which is
unfortunate.
It's a shit show.
Yeah. It's not because of a fault of your own. Yeah. It's just a circumstantial thing going on. Fletch. Yeah, let us know. Comments below. Maybe you like this, maybe you don't.
If you're creative, you make it. For sure.
Proof in the pour.
There's wood. There's just not American oak.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that thing we've used for 100 years.
Yeah. Yeah, French oak's pretty good too, come to find out.
Can't be bourbon though.